I never forget the look in a hungry person's eyes, and that day it stayed with me. If this story moves your heart, please subscribe and stay with me. Here in Providence, I have seen pain wear many faces. Some faces are proud, some are ashamed, some are just tired. But hunger has a language all its own. It speaks without words. It reaches past the bench, past the robe, and straight into the conscience. Join me and subscribe for more stories about justice and mercy. My father, God rest his soul, used to tell me character shows most when nobody is clapping. He worked hard every day. He came home tired. He still treated people with dignity. That lesson never left me. So when someone stands before me, I do not just see a charge. I see a human being. I see somebody's child. Wait till you hear what happened next, but first subscribe and share this story. The charge that day seemed small on paper. A janitor had stolen food. That was the report. Store property taken without payment. Enough facts to support the complaint. Enough for the law to move forward. Nothing dramatic, nothing that would make headlines. At least that is what I thought when the file first landed in front of me. Thank you for being here with me, and please share this with someone who cares. Let me take you back to that morning. The courtroom was busy, like so many mornings in Providence. People shifted in their seats. Papers rustled. A child coughed in the back. One lawyer kept checking the clock. My clerk was focused, calm, and ready. I was carrying the quiet weight judges carry every day. If this touches you, please subscribe because stories like this matter. The man who stood before me was thin, very thin. His uniform was clean but old. The blue fabric had been washed so many times it looked tired. His shoes were worn at the sides. His hands were rough. He kept twisting his cap. He did not look angry. He looked like a man trying not to fall apart in public. Hit that like button right now if you know what it means to swallow your pride. He raised his eyes only for a second. Then he looked down again. I have seen arrogance on that stand. I have seen defiance. I have seen contempt. This was different. This was shame. The kind of shame that makes a person feel smaller than the room around him. I could feel it before he ever spoke. Comment below if you have ever judged someone too quickly. The clerk read the charge. He was accused of taking sandwiches, fruit, and milk from a cafeteria cooler. The total was not large, a few dollars, but theft is theft. Rules matter. Property matters. If courts ignore small wrongs, bigger wrongs follow. I knew all of that. I lived by that. Still, something in his face made me pause. Join me and subscribe for more moments where justice meets real life. I asked him his name. He answered softly. I asked him where he worked. He said he cleaned offices at night and a school during the day. 2 jobs. My ears perked up. My father worked 2 jobs too. So did many men in my neighborhood. Good men, proud men, men who came home aching and still thanked God for work. Please subscribe if you believe a courtroom should still have a heart. I asked him if he understood the charge. He said, "Yes, Your Honor." His voice shook on the words. I asked if he had anything to say before I considered the matter. He took a breath, then another. The room became still. Even the little sounds faded. And then I asked the question that changed everything. Why did you steal the food? Wait till you hear his answer. But first, subscribe for more true human stories. He did not answer right away. His lips moved, but no words came. He looked at his hands. Then he said, "I didn't steal it for me, Judge. I took it home for my daughters. The oldest is 9. The little one is 6. They were waiting. We had bread left, but nothing to put on it. I couldn't let them sleep hungry again." Thank you for listening, and please share this if it means something to you. I have heard many things from that podium. I have heard clever stories. I have heard polished stories. This was not polished. This was a father trying not to cry. He said he had been paid late. Rent had gone up. His wife had been sick. One child needed medicine. He cleaned around food every night, smelling meals he could not bring home. If this story reaches your heart, please subscribe right now. He told me he had asked for extra hours. None came. He went to a food pantry, but it had closed before his shift ended. He borrowed when he could. He skipped meals himself. Then on that night, he opened the cooler while cleaning. 3 sandwiches, 2 cartons of milk, some fruit. He stood there wrestling with himself. Then he thought of his girls, and he made a desperate choice. Hit that like button right now if you have ever seen a parent carry too much alone. Here is the thing. The law does not stop being the law because a story is painful. I knew that. The store manager knew that. The officer knew that. But I also knew something else. Desperation is not the same as greed. Need is not the same as entitlement. And before I could say a word, I needed to understand the man in front of me. Comment and tell me if mercy should ever matter in a courtroom. I asked him whether he had taken food before. He said no. I asked if he sold it. He looked almost offended by that, then caught himself and lowered his eyes. No, Your Honor, he said. My girls ate it in 5 minutes. The younger one asked if there was more. When he said that, I felt something tighten in my chest. Join me and subscribe, because what came next stayed with me for days. In that moment, I was not only a judge, I was a son remembering my father. My father, God rest his soul, knew what it was to stretch $1. He knew what it was to go without so his children could eat. His voice echoed in my mind. Frankie, never confuse a broken man with a bad man. That wisdom sat beside me like a second robe. Please subscribe if you think dignity matters even when someone has failed. I asked the prosecutor whether the employer wished to be heard. The answer was simple. The employer wanted restitution and a formal warning. They did not paint him as dangerous. They did not claim he was running some scheme. They said he violated policy. They were right. He had. The facts were clear. The question before me was what justice required, not what anger demanded. Wait till you hear the struggle in my heart, but first, subscribe and stay with me. Part of me wanted to show mercy at once. Another part warned me not to let emotion write the law. That is a burden judges carry. If we excuse everything, we weaken the rules that protect everyone. But if we harden our hearts, we stop seeing people. I felt both truths pulling at me, and I could feel the whole courtroom waiting. Thank you for being here, and please share this if you believe in second chances. I have seen thousands of cases. Some people come in with excuses ready. Some blame the world. Some blame the police. Some blame their own families. But every now and then, a person stands there with nothing but truth, no performance, no self-pity, just truth. That is harder to hear than any lie, because truth places a duty on your soul. If this touches you, please subscribe and help keep these stories alive. 2 days earlier, I had a woman named Maria before me. She was charged over a parking violation that had grown with fees. She walked in frightened, respectful, and prepared. She had all her papers. She had missed work to be there. She apologized before she even spoke. She explained that she had been caring for her mother after surgery and simply lost track of the notice. Hit that like button right now if respect still means something to you. Maria never once demanded anything. She did not raise her voice. She did not act like the rules should bend because she was upset. She said, "Judge, I made a mistake and I am sorry. That matters to me. Accountability matters." I reduced her burden because she showed humility. Mercy has a doorway, and humility often opens it. Join me and subscribe for more real lessons from the bench. This man was not polished like Maria. He was not calm like Maria. He was scared. He stumbled over his words. He looked exhausted. But he showed respect in every gesture. He answered directly. He did not interrupt. He did not demand. He did not act entitled. He acted like a father cornered by life, ashamed of what he had done and terrified of what would happen next. Please subscribe if you have ever had to choose between pride and survival. That difference matters. I have also seen people with every advantage act as if the world owes them everything. They roll their eyes at court staff. They laugh during proceedings. They act as though rules are for other people. Money cannot buy decency. Education cannot guarantee character. My father said, "Character is how you treat those who cannot help you." That lesson returned to me again. Wait till you hear how hard this decision became. But first, subscribe, because here was my struggle. If I dismissed the case too quickly, what message would I send to the employer? To others watching, to people who also struggle and still do not steal. I grew up in this neighborhood. I have seen good people suffer deeply without crossing that line. Their discipline deserves respect too. Justice must honor them as well. Thank you for listening, and please share this with someone who believes choices matter. So I asked more questions. Had he sought help from family? Yes. They were struggling too. Had he tried a church pantry? Yes, but transportation was a problem after midnight. Had he told his supervisor the truth? No, he feared losing both jobs. Every answer sounded less like an excuse and more like a map of quiet desperation. That is what kept troubling me. If this story means something to you, please subscribe right now. I could feel my hands tighten on the bench. I thought of all the fathers I had known, proud men, stubborn men, men who would rather go hungry than ask for help. Sometimes pride is foolish, sometimes it is all a poor man has left. I prayed for guidance right there in my heart. Not a grand prayer, just a simple one. Help me do what is right. Hit that like button right now if you believe wisdom sometimes comes softly. My wife's voice entered my thoughts too. She has always kept me honest. She once told me, Frank, firmness without compassion becomes vanity. Compassion without firmness becomes chaos. That balance is the whole challenge, not because I wanted to punish him, not because it was easy, but because it had to be right. The courtroom was silent. I could hear the wall clock ticking. Comment and tell me, have you ever felt torn between rules and mercy? I looked at the janitor again. He seemed smaller somehow, not in worth, in spirit. Hunger and shame can shrink a person. I wondered if he had slept at all the night before. I wondered how many times he had replayed that moment at the cooler. I wondered how many fathers would understand him, even while condemning the act. That is the burden of judgment. Join me and subscribe for more stories that show the human side of law. Then a moment of clarity came over me. It was not thunder, it was not drama, it was simple. Justice had to do three things that day. It had to name the wrong, it had to protect the dignity of the court, and it had to leave room for redemption. If a ruling cannot see the whole person, it is only half a ruling. Please subscribe if you believe accountability and hope can live together. I looked him in the eye and said, Sir, what you did was wrong. Taking what is not yours is wrong, even when your need is real. I need you to hear that clearly, because your daughters are watching your example, even when they are not in this room. He nodded, and I saw tears gather, though he tried hard to hold them back. Wait till you hear the rest of my ruling, but first subscribe and stay with me. I told him I was not going to send him home with a message that theft is acceptable. I also was not going to ignore the truth that hunger drove this act, so I ordered him to pay restitution for the food, every dollar, not as humiliation, but as responsibility. When we take, we must repair. That is a principle bigger than this case. Thank you for being here, and please share this if you value fairness. Then I continued. I said I would not impose a crushing fine. I would not leave him with a criminal record if he met certain conditions. Instead, I placed the matter on a path to dismissal. He had to repay the cost. He had to complete community service at a local pantry, and he had to return to court with proof that he had connected with food assistance resources. If this touches your heart, please subscribe and help others find it. Why those conditions? Because punishment alone would teach fear. Repair could teach character. Service at a pantry would allow him to stand on the other side of need. It would remind him he was not alone. Connecting with resources would help his children more than any speech from me ever could. A good sentence should not just hurt. It should help straighten the road ahead. Hit that like button right now if you believe the best justice can still heal. I said one more thing. I told him, if you ever stand here again for the same reason, I will have no choice but to act differently. Mercy is not a coupon you use forever. It is a bridge. You either cross it or you waste it. He looked up at me then, really looked up, and the whole room held its breath. Comment below if you think that was fair, too soft, or too hard. He began to cry, not loudly, not theatrically, just the quiet kind of crying that seems torn from someplace deep. He said, "Thank you, Your Honor, I won't forget this." The clerk handed him a tissue. Even the officer's face softened. That is the part people sometimes miss. Courtrooms are not full of stone hearts. Many of us ache when people ache. Join me and subscribe for more moments that reveal what justice can be. After the case moved on, I kept thinking about him. I finished the calendar. I listened to other matters. I did my work. But his face stayed with me. That night, I could not sleep easily. I walked to my kitchen for water and stood in the dark, thinking about empty refrigerators and children waiting at tables. Some cases leave the courtroom, they follow you home. Wait till you hear what happened after, but first, subscribe and stay close. A few weeks later, he came back. He had paid restitution. It took effort, but he paid it. He had completed every hour of service at the pantry. He brought a letter. The pantry director wrote that he worked hard, arrived early, and stayed late when families came in near closing. That meant something to me. Words are easy. Follow through is harder. Thank you for listening, and please share this story if it matters to you. He also brought proof he had connected with assistance for food and rent. He stood straighter that day, still humble, still quiet, but different. There was more light in his face. I asked about his daughters. He smiled, really smiled for the first time. He said they were doing better. He said the older one had packed him half a sandwich for work so he would not skip lunch. If this story reaches your soul, please subscribe right now. Bless your heart, I told him. That little girl may have saved you as much as this court did. The room laughed softly. He laughed too. That laugh felt like sunlight after rain. In my 40 years on the bench, I have seen thousands of cases. Some people never change, some do. And when they do, it reminds me why mercy must never disappear from justice. Hit that like button right now if you believe one act of grace can echo. When I got home that night, I told my wife the whole story. She listened the way she always does, with patience and clarity. Then she said, "You gave him a consequence, but you also gave him a ladder." That stayed with me. So many people do not need a lecture. They need a ladder. They need one decent chance to climb back toward themselves. Comment and tell me, would you have ruled the same way? Would I decide the same way again? Yes, I would. Not because he was innocent. He was not. Not because hunger makes theft right. It does not. I would rule the same way because justice is not blind to context. It is blind to favoritism. There is a difference. We honor the law best when we apply it with principle, not ego. Join me and subscribe for more stories from here in Providence. You know what bothers me most in life? It is not honest struggle. It is cold indifference. I can handle mistakes. I can handle weakness. I can even handle failure. But when a society stops caring that children are hungry, something precious begins to die. We all owe each other more than judgment from a distance. We owe attention. We owe respect. We owe some effort. Please subscribe if you believe everyone deserves respect and everyone owes it. My father, God rest his soul, taught me that no honest work is small. A janitor has dignity. A clerk has dignity. A judge has dignity. We all stand under the same God. We all answer to conscience. Arrogance is fear in a fancy suit. Humility, on the other hand, opens doors. It opened one in that courtroom, and maybe it opened one in that man's life. Wait till my final thought, but first, subscribe and share this with love. If you are struggling today, hear me clearly. Desperation can whisper dangerous ideas. Do not listen alone. Ask for help before shame drives you into a worse tomorrow. There are churches, pantries, neighbors, and agencies. There are still good people. Reach out. And if someone reaches out to you, do not answer with contempt. Answer with humanity. Thank you for being here with me through this story. Here is the lesson I carry. Accountability without hope crushes people. Hope without accountability misleads them. We need both. Mercy did not erase the wrong. It redirected the future. We need consequences that teach and mercy that restores. We need fathers who tell the truth. We need judges who remember where they came from. And we need communities that notice quiet suffering before it turns into quiet crime. If this touches you, please subscribe, share, and leave me your thoughts below. I looked at that man, and I saw not a headline, not a thief alone, but a father on the edge. I also saw a warning for all of us. Hunger can break judgment. Shame can hide need. A little compassion given in time can redirect a life. Never underestimate that. Never withhold that lightly. Hit that like button right now if you still believe goodness matters. In the end, I did what I believe was right. I named the wrong. I required repair. I protected dignity. I left room for redemption. That is the kind of justice I have always tried to serve here in Providence. Not soft, not hard for the sake of hardness, firm, human, and honest. Good luck to you and God bless.